Hi, Ali. How are you?
I'm good, Holly. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So I'm wondering, first of all, thanks for joining me for have my little coffee here. And I'm wondering if you could, cheers, maybe talk a bit about who you are, what Costa Women is, and how all of this sort of came to be.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Costa Women is a very large women's network based in Spain. We have over 8,700 members at the last count.
Wow.
And we started 2010, so it's our 10th anniversary this year. Unfortunately, a lot of the anniversary parties have been cancelled, but never mind. And I really started it for very selfish reasons because I wanted to make friends. We had just moved back here from the Middle East where we were living and working. And I lived here previously, and it was very hard at that time. It was before social media or those ways of connecting to actually make friends. So I decided when we came back that I would create something as a way of making friends.
Cool.
And I think that's always a good way of building a community, is something that's a need that you see that you want. I mean, it's a great way of building a new business as well, if you can see something that you would want, that you could build a business with. And I think what Celine's done with this Love Yourself project is exactly that. You know, she could see a need, particularly at the moment with what we're going through, and thought it was a good time to launch it, and it's been a great success. So kudos to her.
Yeah. So in terms of the people who join this community, is it a specific type of woman, a specific age? How did you sort of start? Is there a sort of target, I suppose?
Yeah. I do have a target market, and again, that's something that I would always recommend. Whatever your business is, if you're not building a community, you are building a community. Whatever you do is to be really sure on who your target market is. I always think niche is best for the market, for whatever you do. So don't even be afraid if it's a really tiny niche, because that will be the best way of really being able to do your marketing going forward and know who you're speaking to, who your audience are. But the Costa Women market really is women that are either working or they're retired. But retired early, because our average age is about between 50 and 55. And we have 126 different nationalities. So it's not just targeting British women, but women all face the same issues. We have a regular monthly call with a group of ladies in New York City as well, who I met when they were here on a retreat. And there's more that we can work together on than divides us. So I think it's really important to focus on what we can work together on as a community.
It's really, I love that the target is older. Like, I suppose right now I'm in a sort of in between gap where I found, like, moving from country to country, like in your mid 30s, it's sort of I'm not in that like student life joining communities like woo pop girl, and then so things like what you created, sort of I mean, maybe I'm not quite in that actual target yet, but I think it's really important, because I think a lot of people underestimate how difficult it can be to make friends, and how the process of doing that changes depending on which phase of life you're in.
Yeah. I mean, we do have younger women. We have women in their 20s, and we have older women, so in their 80s, 90s. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And it's something that I always notice women don't focus on when they're looking at moving overseas. It's the last thing they think about. They'll think about if they're married, they'll think about their partner or their children or working, and they won't actually think of friendship and how important it is. And for most of us, it is the key thing, to be able to sit down with our female friends and cry and laugh and communicate is really important. So that's another reason why I started it, really.
And it's great that it's something that everyone in your community automatically has in common.
Yeah.
You know, like the need to find new friendships and new connections. And because it's also something I think a lot of people, if they've never been in that situation and maybe moved even to a new city, not even a new country, but at a moment in life when you're no longer like in your necessarily student life or early 20s, people don't realize, they're just like, oh, you'll make friends. And it's like, okay, well, how? If I'm self-employed, I'm not meeting work people. I'm not, you know, like there's a lot of things that communities that people usually connect in, sometimes it's not the case anymore, depending on
no, absolutely. Yeah, and for obviously for women that have children, it's easier in a lot of ways because they meet people around the other parents around the school gate. But for women that are single or who have had their children have grown up, it's a whole area that is really difficult to make connections and make friends. And that's where, you know, where we Coastal Women fit in, really, where we help. And I think also when there's still a lot of transition, so you may make really, really good friends and then they decide they're leaving, which is really, really tough, because you've invested into that relationship and then suddenly they're going. It's much easier with social media, obviously, because we, through the lockdown, we've learned this, that we can stay in touch with people and we can create new ways of staying in touch with people, like the family Zoom calls and family WhatsApp groups. But longer term, you know, you still want to be able to sit over a cup of tea with the person in the room, that same room as you, and communicate.
Exactly. So how is this sort of, you know, gigantic global change? What are there any changes that you've noticed other than the obvious things of your events being cancelled, which is such a shame? And congratulations on 10 years, by the way.
Well, we managed to pivot. Our International Women's Day conference was due the week before the lockdown, and I was warned by the venue that the 24 hours prior to it actually taking place that we couldn't do it. So we had 100 women books in, and we had 7 speakers flying in from all over the place. So we actually pivoted the whole event and put the whole event online. And because we weren't in lockdown at that stage, all the speakers came here to my apartment. We recorded it in my lounge. Fortunately, I've got 2 very good friends, Angel and Ben is a fantastic videographer, so he did all the videoing of it and made sure that we had time and stuff, so it worked out really well. But yeah, it was a challenge. And since the lockdown, we've done about 50 Coastal Women events to date, covering all sorts of different topics, so that way we have been connecting. I have noticed that women are not so interested at the moment in anything that's too deep. If they can get a quick win on something and not have to invest too much time in learning it or doing a lot of in-depth work on that particular topic, then they're really interested. But if it means they've got to use a lot of brain power because the mind at the moment is all over the place.
Like it's a mush brain for a lot of people. A lot of people are sharing that sense. And I think you're the first person who's actually said it in that way, which I really appreciate, because there's so many people saying like, you know, look in, go deep, like now's the time to learn all of these things. And people are like, I can concentrate for 10 minutes and then I'm like,
you know? Bright shiny object, or a bird just flown past the window.
Or in my case, it's like, I need a snack.
I know. So it's I mean that is just what has shown up as well, that women, it's really hard to concentrate. And the time thing, so many people are messaging me and saying, sorry, I thought the meeting was yesterday, or I thought it was tomorrow. Because, you know, and I'm even, you know, I'm run by my diary. I keep forgetting to put things in my diary.
Yeah, and I'll put it in my diary and then be convinced that, like, yesterday in my brain was Thursday all day.
Right. Yeah.
I have to say, to the extent that I wrote I had sent you an email saying, I'm so sorry, I'm running a bit late. And then I realized it wasn't even the right day. So I didn't send it. But yeah, it's just
I probably would have just reacted, oh, really? Okay, let's just jump on the call then. And then thought,
yeah.
yeah,
So
so
in terms of, if I can just ask, so a lot of people right now, I'm seeing a lot of people really reaching out to try and build community, because I think we're lacking individually, we're feeling a sort of sense of lack of our normal communities or tribes or whatever we call them.
yeah.
So for people who are trying to build something along the lines of fledgling, perhaps smaller community than Costa Women, but what sort of things would you recommend that they do or consider, or what's their sort of first step? Do you have any advice for people like that?
Yeah, well, going back to what I said at the very beginning, important to know who your community is. So who you're targeting to, whether that's men and women, whether what the age range is, whether it's parents, whether it's digital nomads, whatever community you're looking at build, be really tough with yourself on who you're actually targeting, because that will make it so much easier as you're going forward.
Yeah.
And that makes it really easy as well to know who to follow, say on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, to connect with, to, you know, try and get some new people looking at what you're sharing. The second tip I would say is be very consistent and show up. It's quite tough at the moment, because you may have your own internal struggles and find it really difficult to concentrate yourself on what you're doing. But if you're going to be responsible for a community and want it to grow and develop, you really need to show up for it and be there whenever you can. Not necessarily posting all the time, but, you know, being there, answering questions, supporting people, right, whatever they're going through. Yeah.
Cool.
Those would be my two top questions. I mean, the platform is interesting because a lot of people are now putting communities on Facebook, because Facebook have given a lot of tools for community. I would recommend that if you're thinking long term, then you do need to have a website long term, because you can't always guarantee what social media companies are going to do going forward.
Right.
So it's good to have a backup plan, always have a plan B.
Are there any instances of that you've seen in your community of how it's brought anything specific in terms of how it's really brought people together or made a real huge impact on someone? Or is there any story from this time that sort of comes to mind?
Yeah, we've got lots of stories. There's fantastic things happening. You know, even though this is a really horrible time for a lot of people, that a lot of people have made it a positive experience with their attitude towards it. On the charity side, I've got a lot of women that are cooking for the homeless or people that at the moment have got no money coming in and really need food. So that I'm really grateful for on the local areas. A woman who she's got 5 children, so she's a single parent. She lost her job. She didn't have another way of looking for work because she didn't have a computer. One of my members just donated her a computer and gave her a phone chip and gave her a bottle of wine to say, you know, good luck, and you can celebrate with the wine when you get a job. So little things like that, which mean a lot to people. So they may be little for you as a person giving the gift, but for the person receiving it, they mean an awful lot. And then we've had some women that have done extraordinary things with their businesses. A couple that I'll just share. One lady has completely changed her career path completely. She was doing a lot of work with the house cleaning and that sort of thing around holiday rentals, which obviously that market's died. She also worked with a taxi company, that market's died. And she was an Avon representative. So Avon have said that they will let her deliver into Spain where they wouldn't normally, and she can sell outside of Spain, which they wouldn't normally. But she decided that she was going to start using her Facebook page to read stories every day. So she started reading stories on her Facebook page every day, just about books that she liked, and got picked up by various people an old people's home in the UK who said, could you read stories to us over the internet, because we've lost all the carers that were coming in could read, you know, to our ladies and men in the home. And now she's become a voiceover coach, and she's literally doing voiceovers for businesses.
How cool.
So she's completely pivoted what she was doing. And then the second example is another lady who's a massage therapist. So obviously during the lockdown, she can't do anything, she can't touch anybody.
Yeah.
And she's launched a YouTube channel showing people how to massage themselves. So she's used either her own body or she's used her dog to show people how to massage themselves.
Luckiest dog ever.
Yeah. And she's been picked up by a company that are training massage therapists and said, after the lockdown, we want you to train our massage therapists. So
that's wonderful.
You never know who's watching what you're doing and what difference it makes to people.
Yeah, it's so lovely. I'm really enjoying seeing all of how people, what people have ended up doing somewhat by accident because of this situation. I just think it's great.
Yeah, and I'd recommend it to women at the beginning of the lockdown who have maybe lost their jobs and, you know, they weren't going to get them back again at the end of the lockdown, that they actually look at their CVs right back to when they started working and see if there were ways that they could use what they had learned through over the years to create a business, because we tend to forget what we've learned along the way. And a lot of those skills will be really useful now. So, you know, don't dismiss what you've done in the past, because there may be some way you could develop it into something for the future.
Yeah, and if you have a supportive community around you giving you advice and helping, then I think that's even better.
Yeah.
So well done for everything you've created, and thank you for sharing your advice with us.
It's really nice to meet you.
It's lovely to meet you too.